Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa and I'm the owner of seasonandserveblog.com. Today I'm taking you into our backyard and we are doing a garden tour. Now it is July, so I wanted to give you an update on how the garden has progressed so far this year and to show you all the things that I'm growing. Now if you missed my previous videos on how we built this garden, plus how we planned and planted everything out, definitely go back and check out those videos on my gardening playlist here on my channel. And with all that said, let's get into the garden tour. So we'll start off in our first garden bed, and in this garden bed we have a trellis where we have our peas. We have a combination of snow peas and snap peas, and they have done amazingly well so far this year. The peas actually grew taller than me and we had such a high yield off of them. They are sadly starting to die back, so I'm going to be looking for something else to plant here, but these are the peas. Next up in this bed we have our cherry tomatoes, and I have 10 cherry tomato plants in here, all different varieties from golden cherry tomatoes to red cherry tomatoes to indigo rose cherry tomatoes. So we have lots of varieties growing, and at this point some of them have started to form fruit, but for the vast majority a lot of it is flowers, so we should be expecting cherry tomatoes very soon. And finally in this bed we are growing 2 yellow zucchini plants, and recently we were able to harvest a fairly good sized zucchini off of them, and as you can see there's tons more coming. We've also been enjoying a lot of zucchini flowers, so look out for a recipe using zucchini flowers coming soon. Now moving on to our next garden bed, we have more, you guessed it, tomatoes. We have tons of regular sized tomatoes growing in here. So we have red tomatoes, yellow tomatoes, green zebra tomatoes, and even San Marzano tomatoes. And I've never grown San Marzano tomatoes before, but as you can see, they look like they're doing very well. And I can't wait to turn these into a lovely tomato sauce during the summer. We are also growing zucchini in this bed, but these are green zucchini. And so far, in comparison to the yellow zucchini, the green zucchinis have been growing much bigger, and we've had a bigger yield from these so far. The zucchinis are really sweet and delicious. Next we move on to our third garden bed, and as you can see, this one is very productive. In here we have some patty pan squash, and I recently learned that patty pan squash grow just like zucchini. I totally thought they grew on vines, but that is not the case. So this is how they grow. Really interesting, and we are starting to see some little patty pan squash forming. I haven't tried them yet, but they look absolutely delicious, and there are tons of them. So can't wait to try that and make some recipes with the patty pan squash. We also have kale growing in this garden bed, and I strategically placed it close to the patty pan squash to help give it some shade because kale does not like a lot of sun. If it's in the sun, it'll bolt, and we want to keep it nice and cool. So having it under the patty pan squash leaves is really helpful, and we could just come and pick some kale whenever we want. And next up we have our watermelon vines, and I've never grown watermelon before. This is my first try, and let me tell you, it is coming along so great. I grew the variety called Sugar Baby, so apparently they're on the smaller side and really sweet, and we have our first little Sugar Baby watermelon growing. It is so tiny, but I can't wait for that to get nice and big so we can eat it. And next up we have this mammoth of a butternut squash plant. I can't believe how big it is. There's actually 2 plants in here. I thought 2 wouldn't be enough, but luckily I held back and just planted 2. But as you can see, there are butternut squash beginning to form, and this variety is called Tiana, and I grew it from seed this year, and I think it is a really good success because there are tons of butternut squash growing and it looks super healthy. So that is our butternut squash plant. And finally in this bed I just have some greens. So here are some shiso leaves that I grew from seed. This plant is doing amazing. I also have some red lettuce. The variety is called Stanford, and it grows to a little gem size. And then I also have this beautiful lettuce called Stanford. It grows in this cute little mound, and it tastes delicious but also looks really pretty and is really decorative too. And there is our little cat Pearl. We recently adopted her and she is loving the garden. And finally, we are moving on to our last bed. And in here, we are growing a lot of fall-ish vegetables. So we have some carrots that are growing. I'm growing a combination of rainbow carrots and purple carrots. So they are coming along really great. I grew these from seed. I don't see any tops of the carrots yet, so they are not close to being ready at all. But they look really good, and I can't wait to harvest our carrots. I'm also growing Walla Walla onions in here, and I picked these up as starts from the grocery store. In this bed, they're not doing that great. I do have some in another bed, and they are looking a lot better, so I'll show you those in just a minute. And right next to the Walla Walla onions, we have our broccolini, and I started these from seed, and when they were really small, they kept getting eaten by cabbage moths, and I heard putting the broccolini next to onions kind of keeps that at bay, and that has been successful. It is a lot healthier, they're not getting eaten, and we've had lots of broccolini harvests so far. And next up we have some cucumbers. We have 4 cucumber plants growing on this trellis, and it took them a while to get started since it was a really cold spring, but now we can see lots of flowers and little tiny cucumbers growing. I am so excited for fresh cucumbers from the garden. Right next to the cucumbers we also have some strawberries, and I picked these up from the garden center. These are the Proven Winners Berry Treasure strawberries. So I got a red one, a pink one, and a white one, and as you can see, they are doing really well so far. The last garden bed in this area is our herb garden. As you can see, there are tons of herbs that are growing right in here. So first up we have our chive plant, and I cut the chive back recently and it is flushed and is completely grown back and has new chives. I also have some cilantro in here, and unfortunately due to the hot weather recently it bolted, so I'm going to sow some more seeds really soon. I also have so much basil. I have a combination of Italian basil as well as Thai basil. I love Thai basil. It's really hard to find here on Vancouver Island, so growing my own in the summer is amazing for Thai recipes. Also, I have a pot full of mint. Of course, keeping it in a pot prevents it from going all over the place. I also have some very sad looking dill that I will look to reseed again, and also a sage plant. And this year I also grew borage. This is an edible flower, and the flowers actually taste like cucumbers, which is pretty cool. Not only are they delicious for me, they're also delicious for the bees. The bees love the pollen on here, and every time I come out, the bees are always on my borage plant. And next we'll move into our greenhouse, and in here I decided to do all of my peppers. So first up we have some habanero peppers that I grew from seed. No peppers have formed yet, but there's little nodules forming where the peppers will be soon. I also grew some Phileas blue peppers, and these are really cool. They are pretty spicy, but they grow in little purple balls. They are so cool, and not only are they beautiful, they taste really good too. And of course, you can't grow peppers without adding in the jalapeno. Jalapenos are so great and really easy to grow from seed, and we're just starting to see our first couple jalapenos starting up here. And there's tons more flowers, so we're gonna get a lot of jalapenos this year. I'm also growing eggplant in my greenhouse, and I have 5 eggplant plants. I haven't seen any eggplant yet, but we have had a couple flowers, which means the eggplant should be coming soon. Very exciting. I also have some purple bell peppers. I haven't grown these before, but I saw them online and thought they looked pretty cool, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And of course, I also have some snacka bell peppers. These grow really small and they ripen to a beautiful red color, and they're just little ones mainly for snacking. So I picked this up as a start from the garden center, and as you can see, it's also doing very well in here. And there's Pearl again, surveying her kingdom. Next we'll move to our raised garden bed that's surrounding our deck, and in here I decided to do corn, squash, and beans. So first we'll start off with the beans. I'm growing them on the trellis that is on the back side of our raised garden bed, and they're just starting to blossom now, so we haven't gotten any beans, but they should be on their way very soon. And the vines are growing very vigorous this year, so hopefully we get lots of beans. I'm also growing pumpkins in here, and I planted 5 pumpkin plants thinking I'd have enough space in here, but as you can see, it's July and this is already full. But there are tons of flowers on our pumpkin plants. We do have some pumpkins that are starting to grow, so these are our little sugar pie pumpkins. They are a little bit smaller, a little bit sweeter, and used mainly for pies, as the name implies. And I also have a larger Howden variety that's growing, and these get to be about 20 to 30 pounds each. So so I want to see how many we can actually grow. I am also growing some corn at the end of this raised garden bed, and it is coming along really well so far. And here are the rest of the Walla Walla onions. This spot they liked a lot more. As you can see, they are much bigger, and we will be able to harvest these soon, so very excited for that. Next up, we'll move to our berry beds, and in here we are growing some blueberries. I have 5 blueberry plants, and so far we've gotten about 2 pints of blueberries off of them this year, but there's still so many more to come. As you can see, there's lots of green blueberries still around. And we also have some raspberries, and with this variety of raspberry plant we actually get 2 flushes of raspberries. So we get a flush in July and then we get one later on in September, which is really amazing. So we get double raspberries. Very exciting. Finally, a quick update on our cut flower garden. This is what it's looking like so far. It's not entirely cut flowers anymore, as I did plant a beautiful fig tree that we got from my husband's parents, and it is looking really well. It loves this spot. So we have some nice beautiful figs. I also have some dahlias that have bloomed. This is the white one-stem dahlia that has bloomed. I also have a creme de cassis dahlia that has recently opened up as well. There are a lot more dahlias to come, so stay tuned for beautiful photos and videos. So that is my July garden tour. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget, if you did, make sure you hit the like button down below as well as the subscribe button to see more garden tour videos. Also, make sure to check me out on social media, and my handle is Season Serve Blog. Be sure to check out my food blog as well, where I share lots of delicious seasonal recipes made with ingredients from my garden. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.